see the world. I think I'm the first one to admit, Neil, that I feel challenged listening to the chairperson's speech, because we take so much for granted. You know, I had the opportunity of driving through Lesotho and the neighboring countries sometime to actually see how much South Africa is even better off than the neighboring countries. And for us, I think we take so much for granted that is around us. And Save It Now is coming to say, let's not take it for granted anymore. Now, without wasting any further time, let's call the Managing Director of Save It, a man who's been active in the townships trying to improve people's lives, but now has taken on this challenge of Save It.
Thank you, Robert. There's always a danger when you get a pastor to be the program director. Their business is speaking. They speak. But so far, so good. Thank you, Robert. If we look a little flustered, it's because we are. It's been quite a crazy couple of weeks. But just a word of thank you to all of you who are here today. I know they often talk about going to Rondebosch and going into Gugulethu as if it's a war zone. But you've ventured into Gugulethu, and we thank you for that. Today is really... today is the start of the culmination of a dream, which began a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, over many glasses of wine, over much prayer, over much deliberating. Duran and I at his house talking about how we can get involved. And the dream really was around how we can have a social, economic impact on townships, but at the same time make it sustainable and also pay the bills. And the dream all but dried. At that point, resources were virtually zero, and we kind of parked the dream. The issues that we're really trying to deal with in this venture is, there are 3 issues. One is that poor people pay more for food. It's a simple statement, it's true. The second one is that spaza owners and traders in the township are really struggling. In fact, many of them are dying out. We've spoken to hundreds, literally, over the last couple of weeks, and one particular lady said that last year, this time, she was turning over 1,500 rand a month, a day, and at the moment she's turning over 250 rand. It's just, they are dying. So the goal of this operation is really twofold. And I'm going to add a third point, some investors who are standing here today. But the goal is twofold. One is to enable poor people to buy food at affordable prices, quality food in quantities that they can afford. Number 2 is to equip spaza owners and traders to actually survive, because they're not surviving. And number 3, because we've got some investors here, is to get a return on investment for our investors. So those are the 3 goals. Our strategy is very simple. It really is to create a direct route to the market. Much has been said about the bottom of the pyramid market and how to get there. Many books have been written, but many of the books are written in favor of big business, to say how can we, and I'm paraphrasing, how can we exploit poor markets to gain money for our shareholders. And really what we're aiming to do is we're creating a direct route to the bottom of the pyramid market in an efficient way and in a cost-effective way, so that we can benefit the end user, they can buy quality food, and we can benefit the spaza in the process. Second strategy, and it's an innovation which actually is not an innovation, it's a return to the old times. We've got many songs being remixed here, but this is sort of a remix of an old strategy. And in the corner there you'll see a whole lot of drums, and one of our innovations is weigh and pay, or weigh and save as Jerome likes to call it. And that really is that someone who's buying food for today, as our chairman so eloquently put out, has maybe got 5 rand. With 5 rand you can't buy much at all. Very little on the shelves here goes for 5 rand. So if you've got 5 rand and you've got to feed a family, you can come to a Save It store and say, right, I need 2 rand 50s worth of maize meal, I need 2 rand 50 worth of soya mince, and there you go, you can feed your family. And the beauty is the per kilogram price of that purchase is the same as if you bought it in bulk. So we think it's a wonderful innovation for the end user. Pastors also like clapping. Just don't start singing.
Not today.
Okay, good. So today is the culmination of the start of that dream, and there are many, many people to thank. The first, obviously, is to thank God for resurrecting the dream, because it all but died. The second is to thank our investors, without whom this would not be impossible. I see people hiding there. I'm not going to leave. There are a couple of there are a couple of investors here, and we thank you very much for believing in the concept, number one, and believing in us to implement the concept. Because it's one thing having an idea, it's another thing doing it. And many of our investors, they didn't know us well, but they put a lot of faith in us, so we thank you for that. Another thanks to our team. We have an incredible team. Jerron standing quietly in the corner there with his wife. Has been labouring for 3 months, negotiating, haggling, harassing, haranguing suppliers.
Very difficult.
And we thank him. Haley, I don't know, there does all the stuff that I can't stand doing, the admin and the figures in there. We thank you very much. Mampo, Innocent, yeah? Yeah. Okay, we have a small team, but a wonderful team and a committed team, and they were all up until all hours last night trying to get this thing together. And Robert, not to forget Robert, who's a friend that in fact goes back quite a few years. We have many stories to tell, which I won't embarrass him now. But he's been a wonderful friend and a wonderful ally and a wonderful pastor. And he's played a role of being a community liaison, without which we would have really been sunk. So thank you to Robert. Also the team that put this together, David, where's David? And Elias, there we go. There's nothing like a deadline to make things happen. When we thought we'd put the store together, we said 5 days, and 6 days later, in much blood, sweat, tears, swearing, and we were still pulling rats out of the ceiling, etc. Forgive me, Mr. Buffer, there was a rat. So thank you to the team who put it together. Thank you also to Mr. Belford and his family. We also go back a long way. We started experimenting in his store about 2 years ago. We ran a pilot in the corner there where the store was still in its old state, and him and his family have been very, very patient. They kept phoning. I mean, we used to get regular calls. Craig, when is it happening, Craig? And at some point, we almost were saying it's not going to happen, but it's eventually happened, and we thank you for your commitment and your also to Marty and her team of creators who put the logos and all the creative work and the color scheme together. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay? We also want to thank you. Whenever I drive with Robert, he points out that hazards on the road. Nice pointing out. We want to thank the Spas Associations, BBC, Peninsula. There are many of them that we've dealt with. There have been Laguna that we've dealt with, and they've really made this possible as the zone, as the mechanism by which we can actually engage with spa shops in the communities. We want to thank, last but not least, our suppliers, many of whom have come to the party in spite of the fact that we've never traded before. We're young, we're new on the block, and they've come to the party. We want to thank you for that, and we certainly are going to justify your faith in us. Finally, we just want to acknowledge, another previous one was finally, but reminding you, the directors of the non-profit organization. 30% of Save It is owned by a non-profit company. And we have some wonderful directors. Pumla standing over there, Lelo couldn't make it. Robert himself is the executive director of that trust. And so, thank you all for coming. It's a very exciting and emotional day for us. And back to Rob.
Thank you, Craig. Hand of applause for Craig. I've been expecting a bit warmer applause, but it's still not there. Let's have a Gugulethu applause. Come on.